You didn't go quiet because you were weak. You went quiet because silence is the most dangerous sound in the room when it's coming from someone who's done playing nice. Chosen ones, they thought your stillness meant surrender. What a mistake. You weren't idle, you were sharpening. While they were laughing, mocking and plotting in the shadows, you were building in the dark. And now that you're rising, their own schemes are turning into traps for them. That's the price of playing dirty with someone who never needed to cheat to win. They couldn't see the fire in you, so they tried to smother it. But all they did was add pressure, and pressure doesn't crush a chosen one. It perfects them. They tried every tactic: rumors, betrayal, manipulation, fake support. But what they didn't realize is this: chosen ones aren't broken by chaos, they adapt to it. Every attack refined your focus. Every fake friend taught you precision. And now, you're not just winning, you're untouchable. Their devilish tactics backfired. The trap they set, you walked through it and made it a throne. Your success is haunting them now. Your glow, it blinds. Your rise, it rattles their comfort. Because the worst thing you can do to someone who tried to bury you is bloom loud enough to break their peace. If you're feeling this, chosen ones, hit that like button. Subscribe, because we're building a space for truth, fire, and elevation. No games, no masks, just raw strength. Stay locked in. This is only the beginning. Before moving ahead, I want to take a sacred pause and thank every soul who has supported this mission through Super Thanks. Your generosity isn't just kindness, it's a signal, a divine echo that you're not only listening, you're aligned with the truth we're speaking here. It's not about coins, it's about covenant, about standing with a message that dares to break chains, silence enemies, and awaken the chosen. If your spirit feels stirred, if you know deep within that this message is yours, take a moment and affirm it quietly. Comment 999 below. Not for me, but for you, as a whispered agreement with your own divine assignment. Because when chosen ones unite, no darkness can dim the light we carry. Number 1. Stop mistaking kindness for cowardice, or you'll miss the storm behind the smile. They mistook the calm in your eyes for cowardice. They saw you hold your tongue and assumed you didn't have teeth. But what they failed to grasp, chosen one, is that your silence was never surrender. It was strategy. They thought you were the type to bow, to bend, to break. But all that time, you were simply sharpening your blade behind a smile. You weren't being weak, you were giving them rope. And now, they're the ones tangled in it, choking on the false sense of control they thought they had over your story. They misread your stillness as spinelessness, not knowing that your soul was armored with steel patience and volcanic purpose. While they paraded loud egos and cheap theatrics, you studied every move, every manipulation, every little game they played in the dark. You were the quiet storm gathering strength behind the curtain until the curtain dropped. And when it did, it wasn't an explosion. It was execution, clean, calculated, complete. That's what shook them. You didn't lash out, you leveled up. Because real power doesn't announce itself with noise. It reveals itself through transformation, through elevation, and your evolution. It made their games look juvenile. You let them think you were harmless, so they let their guard down. And when you rose, you didn't need revenge. You were the reminder, a living consequence. Proof that the one they thought was soft had fire in their lungs and thunder in their steps. They thought your empathy made you easy to control. But empathy with boundaries, that's power with direction. They assumed your forgiveness meant access. But you were never a revolving door. You were a fortress disguised as a friend. And when you finally cut them off, it wasn't emotional. It was surgical. You didn't raise your voice, you raised your standard. See, chosen ones like you don't seek validation. You are the validation. You don't fight to be seen. You walk in a presence that can't be ignored. And now, they're looking at you like spectators at a show they never believed would sell out. Front row dreams with nosebleed regrets. Because they didn't just underestimate you, they awakened you. Let that be the lesson burned into their memory. Kindness is not weakness, it's restraint. And when the kind one finally draws the line, it's already too late to fix what they broke. If you've ever been mistaken for soft, only to rise stronger, type 999 in the comments and let them know you were the storm hiding in plain sight. Like this video and subscribe, because this is your era and we're only just getting started. Number 2. Don't feed a dreamer. Doubt. It's the one thing they'll turn into discipline. They thought feeding you doubt would break you, that questioning your path would make you turn back, that poking holes in your vision would drain the fire in your chest. But here's the part they never understood. Chosen ones don't digest doubt like everyone else. We convert it. While most people get discouraged by disbelief, you used it as fuel. Every dismissive comment, every smirk, every be realistic only made you sharper, hungrier, more focused. They whispered limitations, hoping you'd swallow them whole. But instead, you used their words like weights in a gym, each rep building muscle in your mindset. You didn't get bitter, you got better. While they were trying to shrink you down to their size, you were expanding, rising, stepping into spaces they never imagined you'd reach. They doubted you loud, and now their silence is louder. You didn't need their approval, you needed their opposition. Because a chosen one doesn't just want to win, they have to. And when discipline is born out of doubt, it becomes dangerous. You became a storm of focus. You turned their disbelief into your schedule, your hustle, your obsession with making it undeniable. So now they're watching, stunned, unsure how you made it past all the limits they placed on you. Easy. You never listened. You turned their shade into structure, their sarcasm into strategy. If you've ever been underestimated and turned that doubt into fuel, comment 999 below. Like this video and subscribe, because chosen ones don't need permission. We just need purpose. Number 3. Never hand someone a script for your life. They'll burn it and build a stage of their own. They wanted to write your story for you, tell you who you should be, how far you could go, what role you were allowed to play. They handed you a script filled with limits, expecting you to read it line by line like an obedient extra in a show they directed. But chosen one, you were never born to follow a script. You were born to rewrite the entire damn narrative. They thought if they labeled you quiet, you'd stay invisible. If they called you too soft, you'd never roar. If they boxed you in with low expectations, you'd shrink to fit. But instead, you set the whole stage on fire. You weren't waiting for a cue, you were building your own spotlight. While they were rehearsing for applause, you were preparing for a legacy. You didn't just walk off their set, you created your own theater, and now they're stuck watching from the sidelines as you become the name on everyone's lips. That's the thing about chosen ones. You don't beg for a role in someone else's story. You become the plot twist they never saw coming. You took their control, ripped it from their hands, and turned their narrative into ashes. Now you're standing on a stage they can't access, performing at a level they can't touch. If you've ever outgrown a role that wasn't written for your greatness, drop a 999 in the comments. Like and subscribe, because this stage is yours now, and the script, you're writing it in real time. Number 4. Quit using passion as leverage. It only sharpens the dreamer's fire. They thought they were smart, listening just long enough to learn what lit your soul, then turning it into a weapon. Every time you opened up about your goals, your vision, your drive, they nodded, smiled, and waited for the moment to twist it. They used your passion as leverage, thinking if they could control what you loved, they could control you. But what they didn't realize is that chosen ones aren't fueled by approval. We're fueled by purpose, and purpose doesn't die under pressure, it sharpens. They tried to dim you by mocking what meant the most to you. They rolled their eyes when you spoke your dreams aloud, called you unrealistic, told you to be practical, hoping their noise would drown out your inner fire. But fire doesn't fade when it's real. It burns hotter in silence, and every jab, every doubt, every fake nod of support only pushed you deeper into focus. They thought they could slow you down. Instead, they activated a version of you they were never ready to meet. See, chosen ones don't need permission. We don't beg for belief. We carry our vision in our bones, and that's not something anyone can strip from us. They used your passion to control you. You used their doubt to ignite something divine. If they ever tried to use your dreams against you and you turned that pain into power, drop 999 in the comments, like and subscribe, because this is what happens when a chosen one decides to build without applause. Number 5. Don't assume quiet means weak. That's how you get blindsided by the warrior. They watched you stay silent and called it fear. They saw you sit still and assumed it meant defeat. But what they didn't realize is that a real warrior doesn't broadcast the battle, they become it. Chosen one, your silence was never a sign of weakness. It was a warning they were too arrogant to hear. You were calculating, conserving, preparing for the moment when actions would speak louder than every insult they ever whispered. They laughed while you healed, they mocked while you planned, and while they were busy putting on a show for attention, you were building strength in silence, layer by layer, wound by wound. And when you finally stepped out of the shadows, it wasn't noise they heard, it was the impact. Quiet doesn't mean powerless, it means dangerous, because the one who doesn't react immediately, that's the one who's choosing their strike with precision. They expected an outburst. What they got was outcome. They expected breakdown. What they got was breakthrough. You didn't come back to prove anything. You returned to replace everything they thought they could control. Now they're left stunned, trying to process how the one they ignored became the one they now fear. Chosen ones, type 999 in the comments if they ever mistook your stillness for surrender. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep walking in that quiet power. They'll never see it coming. Number 6. Think twice before you whisper. Some people are taking notes in silence. They thought whispering behind your back would be safe. That because you weren't reacting, you weren't aware. But here's the truth, chosen one. While they whispered, you were documenting. While they threw shade in private, you were collecting data in silence. They assumed your quiet meant weakness, when really it meant war was being prepared in the background. You weren't absent, you were focused. Focused on who switched up when the room got dark. Focused on who laughed a little too hard when your name came up. Focused on the little slips, the fake support, the subtle betrayal. They convinced themselves that gossip was harmless, that you were too soft or unaware to notice the patterns. But what they didn't realize is, people chosen for greatness are rarely loud in their response. They don't defend their name in every room. They elevate beyond it. And when the time is right, the silence becomes the loudest answer of all. You didn't have to expose them. Your growth did. Now their whispers sound like screams. Their rumors collapse under the weight of your reality. They're uncomfortable in rooms you don't even enter anymore. Because the one they tried to discredit in secret is now the blueprint being studied in public. Chosen one, you were never the fool in their story. You were the witness, and you played it smart. You let them show you who they are. You let them talk while you moved. And now you've made it impossible for them to speak your name without feeling the burn of regret. Comment 999 below if you've ever let your silence speak louder than any gossip could. Like this video and subscribe, because the quiet ones, we're not quiet anymore, we're calculated. Number 7. Stop playing chess with people who were born to flip the board. They thought it was a game, one they could control. They sat across from you like it was chess, thinking a few calculated moves would keep you boxed in, predictable, easy to read. But what they didn't know is you were never here to follow the rules they built. You were born to flip the whole board. Chosen one, you weren't made to move like a pawn. You were made to change the entire strategy, quietly, relentlessly, and without warning. They tried to keep you in their setup, offering crumbs of validation, limiting your moves, making you think your power had borders. But while they were busy planning their next play, you were mastering the entire game. You learned the patterns, studied the power plays, and when the time was right, you turned the game upside down. Not out of anger, out of clarity. Because chosen ones don't play by rules written in fear. You create your own path. You weren't born to wait for a crown. You are the crown. You move when it's time. You rise when it's quiet. You win without needing to destroy anyone. And that's what makes you untouchable. So let them keep playing small. Let them stick to their little games. You've already flipped the board and built an empire from the pieces they thought would trap you. If you've ever had to step away just a step higher, drop 999 in the comments. Like and subscribe, because chosen ones don't play to win. They exist to rewrite the rules. Number 8. Don't bet on their insecurity. Self-mastery turns pain into armor. They saw your wounds and thought that was the way in. Every little crack in your confidence, every shadow from your past, they treated it like a map, a blueprint to break you. They bet that your insecurities would hold you back, that the pain you carried would silence you. But chosen one, here's where they played themselves. Because while they were busy trying to trigger your weakness, you were doing the work. You weren't ignoring your pain. You were facing it. You weren't running from your truth. You were mastering it. See, self-mastery doesn't mean you're never scared. It means fear no longer gets to lead. It means you've taken every insult, every rejection, every tear, and melted them down into armor. They thought your silence was submission, but it was reflection. They thought your stillness meant stuck, but it was healing. You didn't just get stronger, you got smarter, and now, nothing they say or do has the power to shake what you've built within. That's the thing about chosen ones. You don't fold under pressure, you evolve. You don't just survive betrayal, you extract wisdom from it. And once you reach that level of self-awareness, you become untouchable. Not because the pain is gone, but because it no longer controls the narrative. Let them watch now. Let them wonder why their old tricks don't work anymore. It's because you've outgrown the version of you they thought they could manipulate. If you know what it feels like to turn your pain into power, drop 999 in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep rising, because nothing hits harder than a chosen one who finally knows their worth. Number 9. Don't mistake a humble start for a small mind. That's how legends are born. They saw where you started and thought they could predict where you'd end. A small apartment, a second-hand car, quiet clothes, quiet voice, quiet presence. They mistook humility for limitation. But chosen one, what they didn't realize is that the most powerful minds often come wrapped in the plainest packages. You weren't lacking vision. You were building it, brick by brick, while they were too busy laughing at the dust on your shoes to notice the empire forming behind you. They assumed your humble beginnings meant you were satisfied with crumbs, that you'd settle for comfort zones and safety nets. But you weren't chasing comfort. You were chasing legacy. You didn't want to just survive. You were determined to shift the whole atmosphere. And now, the very people who once mocked your struggle are stuck trying to figure out how you turned nothing into something they can't compete with. What they fail to understand is that greatness doesn't scream from the mountaintops. It grinds in the shadows. The chosen ones don't start with privilege. They start with pressure, with grit, with a hunger so deep it terrifies people who've never had to fight for a single thing. And that hunger, it birthed a legend. So next time they try to size you up by your past, remind them, the seed doesn't look like the forest, but it still holds the blueprint. If you've ever been overlooked because of where you started, drop 999 in the comments and let them know you weren't born to blend in. You were built to break through. Like this video and subscribe, because your rise is already shaking the room. Number 10. Stop looking for shelter in someone who was always the storm. They wanted safety from the very force they couldn't control. Chosen one, how many times did they come to you for comfort, for quiet, for peace, never realizing you were the storm they feared when the sky finally cracked open? They leaned on your calm, your patience, your empathy like it was shelter, but forgot that what feels safe can also be powerful beyond comprehension. You weren't sent to be someone's emotional bandage. You were born to shift atmospheres. They wanted your light when their world felt dark. They wanted your strength when their own was crumbling. But the moment you stopped shrinking to make them feel comfortable, the truth shook them. You weren't the safe place. They were just standing in the eye of your storm. You weren't the escape. They were standing at the center of a force they could never control, never contain, never fully understand. Because the storm doesn't ask permission, it doesn't apologize. And you, chosen one, were never made to play small for people who only show up when it benefits them. You're not here to be anyone's shelter. You're here to rebuild the entire skyline. So stop letting people camp in your calm while disrespecting the fire that built it. Stop allowing broken minds to dictate your worth because they're too afraid to face the power you carry. They feared the storm. Then let them respect its silence before it speaks again. If you've ever had to pull back your power so others could feel safe, comment 999 below and reclaim every piece of it. Like and subscribe if you're done hiding your storm, because it's time to reign. Number 11. Applause fades, but purpose echoes. They were busy chasing claps. You were busy chasing calling. That's the difference between the ones who want to be seen and the ones who are sent. While they begged for spotlight moments, likes, reposts, shallow praise that fades in seconds, you were building something the world couldn't ignore, even in silence. Chosen one, you never needed the noise. You became the echo. They danced for attention. You moved in purpose. And now the applause they worshipped has died down, and they're scrambling to stay relevant. But you're just getting louder, not through volume, but through value. Because when you walk in purpose, the ripple never stops. The crowd forgets. The mission doesn't. They thought because you weren't being celebrated, you weren't progressing. But purpose doesn't require permission or a cheering section. It just requires vision, and yours was rooted so deep, no drought of attention could kill it. The ones who laughed when no one was clapping for you are now watching you create impact they could never manufacture, even with all eyes on them. Applause fades because it's external, but purpose, it echoes. through time, through people, through legacy. You're not trending, you're transforming, and that lasts longer than any round of applause ever could. If you're walking in your calling, whether they clap or not, comment 999 to affirm it. Like this video and subscribe, because chosen ones don't fade, they resonate. Number 12. Broken rulers can't measure greatness, so don't use theirs to define you. They tried to size you up using broken rulers, measuring your worth through their limited vision, flawed logic, and damaged egos. They couldn't comprehend your depth, so they labeled you difficult. They couldn't match your focus, so they called you intense. They couldn't copy your resilience, so they called you lucky. Chosen one, they tried to confine you to their comfort zone, not realizing you were never meant to live under their ceiling. You were born to shatter it. They judged you through the cracks of their own insecurity. Everything they lacked, they projected onto you. Their idea of too much was just you refusing to shrink. Their opinion of not enough was just fear disguised as feedback. But here's the truth. You were never meant to fit into their box because your blueprint wasn't made for their dimensions. Greatness can't be measured with tools designed for mediocrity. And now they're confused. Because the same people who said you'd never make it are watching you redefine what success even looks like. You didn't bend to fit their framework. You broke through it. You rewrote every rule they tried to apply to you. You didn't just exceed their expectations, you made them irrelevant. So let them keep their broken rulers. You've got your own measure now, and it's called purpose. Comment 999 below if you've stopped seeking approval from people who never saw you clearly. Like and subscribe, because chosen ones don't conform, they transform everything around them. Before we close this chapter, let this sink in. You were never meant to be measured by people who couldn't even measure up to your presence. Their broken rulers, their small minds, their shaky opinions, none of it defines you. You are the blueprint, not the copy, the force, not the follower. So keep walking boldly in your lane, chosen one, because what you're building can't be contained by their limits. If this message spoke to your spirit, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, drop a 999 in the comments if you're done being underestimated.